a sense of community when you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. With me is my guest, Lynn Johnson. Welcome, Lynn.
Oh, hi.
Lynn has some, she's had some interesting stories over the years, I think. And today she's going to share at least one. We'll see how much time there is. So I'm just thinking about, like, we had a Chilliwack Cupcake Festival, and Lynn was one of the volunteers. She is a baker. You once had a bakery, right?
Yeah.
So you want to talk about that, how that came about?
Well, we were in our 30s. We had 2 children. Our daughter was 4 and our son was 18 months. And we had a bad day where we were working. We worked for Canada Safeway in Northwestern Ontario and came home. We read a Baker's Journal magazine, which was the big thing in the industry back in the 70s, and saw a bakery in Vancouver for sale. And my dad sold real estate at the time, and we decided put everything up for sale and start a bakery.
No, before that, did you have any experience with the bakery?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I have chef training. I took chef training when I was 18, and my husband's a professional baker.
So, okay, that's very good. So now where was this bakery?
The bakery was on Robson Street in Vancouver. So I went from a small town that had 3 traffic lights to living in Richmond and commuting to downtown Vancouver every day.
Oh my gosh. So what was that experience like?
It was fun.
It was fun. You enjoyed it. Yeah.
It was fun. You never knew who was going to walk in the door. And when you're working 12 hours a day, you don't recognize people.
No, I understand that. Yeah, you just don't have time, right?
You don't have time. I mean, I worked all day and I went home to a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. And you've got to be mom, you've got to be everything.
Yeah, nurse.
And you've got to be everything. And the thing is, you just do it. And now one time I had someone go, you do the job of 4 people in a day. You know, do you think maybe you should slow down? But that's what life is. You just do it.
When you're self-employed, it's like there is no option, no other option, is there?
Well, I always love these people that say, I'm not paid what I'm worth. Be self-employed and find out exactly how much you're worth.
So now how long did you have that bakery?
We had the bakery for 8 years.
So why'd you close it down?
Back in the day, and it was the 90s, the building was owned by Morgard, which was part of the Teachers Fund in Toronto. And with people retiring, they sold the building to get money to pay the teachers' pensions. So when they did that, there was a demolition clause that if you were renting in the building and it was going to be demolished, they didn't have to compensate you anything for leaving.
Oh, wow. No, that's harsh.
Yeah,
right?
That was harsh.
So now, because you had all of this inventory, this equipment.
We had equipment. We kind of looked at moving to Port Moody because we were living in Port Moody at the time. And in order to get into buildings in that, you had to have an architectural drawing of what you were going to do at the time, where everything was going to be. And in order to hire an architect to do the building drawing, it was $5,000 at that point in time, and we didn't have it.
Yeah, for sure. So what did you do?
We liquidated everything. We had $10,000 in cash. And it was whoever got a job first was where we moved.
Okay.
My father-in-law at the point, he was living in Winnipeg and he had 2 strokes. And we had decided that, you know, health-wise, it didn't look great for him, the prognosis. So we moved back to Manitoba.
Okay. And now the cold weather was something living in Northern Ontario.
Yeah. We were like 3 hours west of where we had lived. And so it wasn't a
big transformation for you,
no.
Right? So now did you set up another business?
No. You know, my husband got a job at Co-op in Portage la Prairie, and there was only Safeway that had a bakery and that. So I went back to cooking. I hadn't done actual commercial cooking in 20 years, but I went back to commercial cooking.
So how did you end up in Chilliwack?
How did we have friends in Chilliwack, and our son lives in Langley, and my son and daughter-in-law had a little girl in April. So we wanted to be close to the grandchild. She's probably going to be our only grandchild. She was an in vitro fertilization baby.
Right. Okay.
So they have one egg and they're not sure if they want to use it or not. But yeah, she'll probably be our only grandchild.
I have 2 bonus grandchildren because I have 2 children of my own. They don't have their own, but I have from my marriage, I have a bonus daughter and a bonus son. Oh, nice. Instead of saying stepchildren, I think it's such a nicer word.
Yeah.
And they each have a child, but my stepson lives in Austria. So I see them maybe once every couple of years, you know, and my stepdaughter lives in Penticton. So it's just the way it is, but it is what it is, you know.
Yeah. You make it what it is. And, you know, you can be a courtesy grandma to any child in your life.
I've never been, I don't know about you, but I've never been like, oh, I need grandchildren. Please have to. That's never been me, you know.
No.
My kids do what they're going to do. That's their life, right?
Well, my daughter decided she didn't want children, and she's never liked babies. Like, seriously, when they were teenagers, if there was a baby crying in the room, my son would pick that baby up before my daughter did.
Right, yeah.
And she's just not. She doesn't want the hassle of temper tantrums and that. Mind you, she is a courtesy auntie to 4 children that she's very good with, but she doesn't want to come home to a 3-year-old's temper tantrums and that. It's just.
Well, the way I feel about it is just because we're female doesn't mean we have to be mothers.
No.
You know, and sometimes that's put on us, and that's not right. I don't think that's right.
And there are mothers that should not be mothers.
Totally agree with that. And we all have our own journey, whatever that, wherever that may take us. Anyway, back to you now. So are you retired? Do you work?
I'm retired. I quit working when I was waiting for hip surgery.
Oh, so you've had that done?
Yes.
Okay. How long ago was that?
The surgery was actually 3 years ago.
Okay.
But I was off work for a year before that.
It takes quite a while to recover from that, I would think.
It took 22 months of physiotherapy, and I still can't do a 5-kilometer walk or that, but I have a functional hip.
Right. Yeah. Like when one of my sisters had both her knees done at separate times, and she came here so I could take care of her. And it does take a long time to heal from any of those type of surgeries, right? So tell me some of the things that you're interested in doing now, like hobby wise or volunteer wise, whatever.
In Manitoba, what we were doing, it was just before COVID. Our daughter got involved with Manitoba All Shepherds. It's a rescue that takes any type of German Shepherd. It can be mixes and that off of northern areas, right, and bring them down to adopt them out to better families and stuff. And just as COVID hit, their big fundraiser was doing pierogies to sell, to raise funds. And with COVID, we couldn't get together to do it. Right. So being of Ukrainian descent, my mother was Ukrainian, and also being a professional chef, I told them that I could do, I asked how many they did, and they said they usually do 200 dozen. Oh, so I signed on to do 200 dozen over 10 weeks, which would be 20 dozen a week. And this was over Thanksgiving. And we did our 200 dozen, and then people were asking if they could carry on and do it for Christmas too. So that first time I wound up doing 400 dozen in 8 weeks. And then I continued to do it for Easter, right, Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I did, I think probably six fundraisers. Okay. Probably over, 1,000 dozen.
Wow.
No, it was more than that.
Right, yeah, but it's hard to estimate, sometimes hard to remember whatever. It's
Yeah.
like when we did the cupcakes, right? You know, we're just
Yeah.
cranking them out at 2 different places.
Yes. Well, my husband was like, how long are you going to do them? Until every order is done. Like,
Yeah,
you know, they were pre-sold
right.
and that. So
So you have to fill the orders.
yeah,
and yeah.
you have to fill the orders and
Yeah.
stuff. But I think it raised close over the course of 2 years, about $10,000.
Very nice. So is your daughter still doing that?
My daughter actually works as a lab technologist.
Mhm.
She does not know how to make pierogies. She never wanted to learn. But what my daughter did is she was looking after, like fostering for Manitoba Shepherds, and she had a dog that was allergic to a lot of things. So
Oh,
what
okay.
she did is she developed a gluten-free, wheat-free dog treat. So she established a company called Trail Dog Treats, and she makes dog treats that are available to any dog.
That is
And
so
that, so
excellent.
she's been doing that for 3 years now.
Very good. That is so excellent. Because one thing I've learned, like I've had animals in the past, but they have all the same types of illnesses and issues that humans have, right? And I think sometimes it's caused by some of the humans that own them, you know, not allergies per se,
Well,
but
something that she started last year at Halloween is she calls it the Halloween howl. And what it is you buy a treat bag, businesses sign on, they have dog treats, and the dogs go around trick-or-treating for Halloween.
I love
It's done, I think the week before, a few days before Halloween, but all of the businesses have dog treats to give out to dogs. There's a prize for the best costume and all of that. She did it last year for the second time, and they sold 100 bags, which was like $20 a bag, which
Okay.
is a treasure hunt map and where everything is. And all the money that she raises for that goes directly to a rescue.
right.
She does different rescues. It's not just the same
Okay.
rescue in that there are a lot of dog rescues in Manitoba.
That's awesome. Good for
So,
her. That is so
yeah.
awesome. So now moving forward for you now, again, so you have done the pierogies for the fundraisers, and you certainly helped with the cupcake festival, which was really nice. Now, hopefully we're going to do it again next year.
Hopefully.
Well, I plan on it.
Mhm.
I really plan
I'm
on it.
in.
Okay, great. Some changes we'll talk about that later, but there's going to be some
Mhm.
changes, you know, there has to be a tighter control, which,
Yeah.
but it was so fun. I was one of the people that got to deliver some, and we were on TV, weren't we?
You were, yeah, we all were
Yeah,
actually.
we all were. So that was pretty much a fun thing. So now, do you have any plans for other fundraisers or?
I don't know what opens up.
Oh, so you
And
just
that-
wait and go with the flow.
We've literally been in Chilliwack 5 weeks.
Oh my goodness, that's no time at all.
No,
Oh, for sure. Okay, so is your husband retired as well?
my
Molly?
husband's retired. My husband did various jobs. He was a bakery manager at Co-op in Portage Prairie, Manitoba. And then he bought a Canada bread route, which is Dempster's. It's delivering
Right.
Dempster bread. He did that for I don't know how many years. I can't remember. But that was long hours. That was 12 and 14 hours a week
Mm.
or a day. And he also had to go into Winnipeg, which was an hour away to pick up the breads for the next day.
Okay.
So he did that. And then when he sold that, he did route relief for some of the drivers for 3 years. And then our son, who is an RCMP officer, said,
Oh.
why don't you guard at our local jail? So then my husband did. It was casual.
Yeah.
You sign up for the shifts that you want.
Right.
And if there's someone in cells, you go in. If there isn't, you don't get that
Okay.
shift. It was casual. And from that, he worked with a lady that worked for the province of Manitoba. It was security, checking on government buildings and stuff,
Oh, yeah.
not active law enforcement.
Right, yeah.
So he's kind of like 180 from baking, and he does not bake at home.
Okay.
No, he
That's
doesn't
your
do that.
responsibility.
That's
at
my
home.
responsibility.
Okay, great. Oh, that's really good, actually. So it sounds like you've been, just moving on from one
Mhm.
thing to another, whatever, right? And sticking
Well,
to it though, not.
You don't know what life is
I
going to
know.
throw at you. I know that when I was working in Port La Prairie, at one job, I was only considered casual. So to make ends meet, I took on a job of cake decorating for Dairy Queen, and I wound up doing it for 13 years.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
And that was in addition to the job I was already doing.
Yeah.
Probably for 13, 14 years, I juggled 2 jobs at a time.
My goodness. That's a lot, though.
You know,
It's a lot.
it's what
But-
you do to make a living.
Yeah, it's not easy, is it? It's
No.
not always easy to make a living, you know.
You know, what you foresee
Yeah.
or whatever, like people starting out in that, just because you have one career does not mean that you're always going to stay doing that. Back in the 70s and the 60s, when you started with an employer, you stayed with that employer for life.
That's true.
The workforce has changed. When I took my chef training, it was in order for you to go out and do your own business. It wasn't just work in a restaurant for your life. It was, you became a business.
Yes.
And that. And rule number 1 is whoever you hire, you don't just hire the person, you hire all of their problems, all of their family and that, and you work with it and around it. Nowadays, and I have had jobs that, what is more important, your job or your family? Family all the time. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Money comes and goes. Family is necessary.
Absolutely. Sorry about the light, people. Just that the sun has decided to come out really bright. So, you know, just my glow. What can I say?
You're a little angel.
Oh, yeah. People know that one, right?
Yes, you're a little angel. You're getting your glow.
Anyway, so this has been fun, though, to find out, you know, who you are, what you've been about, and as well as your family. And I do appreciate you coming here to do that. It's really fun for me anyway. It's always a wonderful experience to find out.
Well, everybody has a story. I don't think my story is all that interesting.
But I do.
But you know, everybody has a story, and
Yeah.
you don't know what the stories are until you start talking. And that,
Absolutely.
like,
Absolutely.
I mean, my father was a bush pilot.
Oh,
My 2 uncles started an airline business back in the 40s.
wow.
And then my dad joined in 48, and they had an airline in Kenora, Ontario for 40 years.
Wow.
And I found their life was much more adventurous.
But it's a different kind of adventure. Like,
Yeah.
to me, I see it differently. Like,
Yeah.
I see it as a different kind of adventure, you know, right?
But
And it's all fascinating to me. I love it all.
oh yeah, like I mean, my dad was one of these people that I consider he did a lot.
Right.
And he's still living. He's 96.
All right.
And for his 90th birthday, what he did is he hired an instructor and rented an airplane and flew on his 90th birthday. He got it out of his system finally, but he wanted one last thing to see if he could do it. And he hired the instructor in case anything went wrong or whatever.
Cool. It's so interesting, you know, because when you talk about what your dad did, like I had an aunt who was also my godmother, and she would have been born in the 30s, I think. A small town, New Brunswick, very small town. Married, she got divorced, which was something they didn't do. She had her tubes tied, which is another thing that they didn't do. She met and married a Norwegian, and they both became stewards on a Norwegian freighter and traveled the world. And it's like, oh my gosh, you know,
that's taking chances and adventure.
Absolutely. And when I look at things like that, and I think, wow, it must have been so brave of her to do that, to break away from tradition and that small little town atmosphere, and you know the way people are in a small town. So I just love things like that, you know. So it's all super fantastic in my opinion.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think today's generation plays it so safe, and
they live a different kind of.
It's totally different in that, like you always see on Facebook, if you were a child that rode in the back of a truck without seatbelt. I remember when seatbelts came into law, and
I remember little kids standing in the front of us, when they had the bench seats in the
Yes.
vehicle, right? And the little kid would be standing in the front. That's just the way it was before.
Mhm.
We didn't even know about seatbelts at that time.
No,
I grew up where we had an outhouse,
yeah.
you
So
know?
did I. Well, my grandmother.
Yeah, we didn't have indoor plumbing, and we had running water, but we didn't have a bathtub or anything like that, So there was a galvanized tub, or in the summer, and some of the kids, we all went down to the brook,
Yeah.
took some
yeah.
soap. So that's
Take your soap and shampoo and go have a bath.
yeah, exactly. It just did what, it's just a totally different life. I mean, I don't know. I don't see it as any better or any worse.
No,
I just
no,
see it as different.
It was totally different.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like with the technology that we have, and in some ways it's more dangerous. Like if
Mhm.
you think about people getting rooked in by, catfishers or young people, there's all kinds of stuff that goes
Oh, yeah.
on, good and
Yeah.
bad. And it's just, again, we had that we didn't have the technology, but we certainly had.
You had fear of strangers growing up. You never went with strangers.
Exactly.
You had rules.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, this has been so great. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry, everybody. Sorry, people. Oh, there I am.
That's better.
That's better. I have to stay here till we finish this. I apologize for the lighting, but listen, stuff happens. It's reality, okay? I mean, and you know me by now. I don't do editing. So I just want to thank everybody for watching the show, and thank you, Lynn, for being
Thank you for
here.
having me.
And we'll hope maybe we'll have it again when something else is going on, right?
Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
It's adventure. Life isn't over.
Yeah.
I at one point in time, I worked in a nursing home.
All right.
I cooked in a nursing home, and there was one of the women, the residents, and that it was her birthday, and she was miserable. She goes, "It's my birthday," and I went, "Simone," I said, "you either have more birthdays or it's the end."
Yeah.
And that I said, I would be happy if it was my birthday. And that, so the next year, she was still there. And the next year she goes, "It's my birthday today."
That's so cool. That's so cool.
It's how you look at life.
It is totally. So good lesson to learn there. Thanks for that. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I hope you'll continue to do so. And if I can find my way around the camera here, or my mouse here, so I can shut things off. So hopefully you'll watch this episode and you'll enjoy it the way I did. And take care of everybody, and peace out.
A sense of community, Chilliwack's a place to be. A sense of community when you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.